Hi there. Welcome to Jeji Does Things and welcome to my very first YouTube video. So today I want to talk about craft market tips and how to have one of the very best markets that you possibly can. This is more of a internal things that you can do as the vendor to help have a better attitude, a better turnout for your market. There's obviously many other factors, right? Like what kinds of things to sell, how should I price those things, how should I set up my table display, all that kind of stuff. And all of those are very important, but so's your attitude as a vendor. Now, I do own a craft business. I've owned it for the past 4 years and I do not make any sales online. I wish I could be one of those, like, this is how to make bank on Etsy YouTubers, but I'm not. I don't do very well online, but I do excellent at craft markets. Now, you might be thinking, well, yeah, I can kind of see from all of that why you probably do great. You seem like a pretty extroverted person. And I would say, yeah, that probably has a factor, but I'm going to try to give you some tips to have. Maybe you won't have the same attitude as me. Maybe you won't have the very same sounds of your voice and everything like that that will bring people over. But if you try to follow my tips, I can promise it'll go better for you. Okay. So I have my handy dandy notes here, and I'm going to start you off with tip number one: body language. Okay, I'm dead serious. I know probably this seems so basic. I know so many videos are like X amount of percent of communication is nonverbal, and here's what body language. No, they're not lying to you. It's not a joke. It's actually that important. Okay, body language is vital. Okay, so the number one thing is try to be as welcoming and as open as you possibly can. Shoulders back. Stand like straight and tall if you can, arms open to your sides. Like don't be bunched up like this. Okay, I'm telling you, if it will communicate that lack of interest, that lack of openness. Okay, people won't want to approach you. It makes a huge difference, and I mean literally, I have seen it in my own experience when I'm at the same market. If I'm like this and I'm open and I'm jiving, people talk to me. The second I'm doing something like this, people don't talk to me. It's really that black and white, okay? So body language makes a huge difference. Now, that said, leading into my next thing, so be engaged. From my experience, if you are an able bodied person, okay, if you can be standing, okay? Obviously, I understand this is not physically possible for every single person, so I have tips for that too. If you cannot be standing, be engaged, okay? And by that, I mean if you're seated, be seated, but look interested. Be looking at what's happening in the market. Don't be on your phone. Again, don't be curled up. Don't be off in the corner. Just be engaged in what's happening in the moment. Be very engaged in the moment because that will again communicate that openness, that receptiveness that people will want to approach. Okay. So if you can be standing, be standing. If you must be seated and engaged. Okay. It makes a whole whack of difference. Now, leading into my next point, when you're engaged, you're making eye contact. Okay. Now, I know some of these tips, you're like, Gigi, really? Like, really? Like, you're just giving me the book. Yeah, but I'm telling you. Okay. So, when it comes to making eye contact, like, I'm very aggressive about it. I should never come into communication with any type of animals that take eye contact as a form of threat because I'd be mauled immediately. Okay. I'd be looking at people, and if they're in a market, okay, I'm like this, following them until they come to my table. So I make eye contact, okay? And do it, make eye contact. Again, it's communicating that, like, I see you, I acknowledge you, I want to engage you. Come here. And that said, after you've established that eye contact, Do not be shy. Verbally call that person over, okay? So I make a joke of it when I'm calling people over. I'm like, come on over, come into my tent of wonder. So I play around with it, right? And I try to get people to laugh and just be a little more off guard. Like, I'm just here having a good time. You can be having a good time. We're chilling. Everything's chilling, right? So be aggressive about calling people over. And again, there is a marked difference, okay? There is a difference between I'm I'm just here and I'm sitting here and I don't really care if you come up and talk to me and I don't really look like I want you to talk to me versus I am calling you over, okay? And that said, I've had customers say to me like, "Well, I wasn't going to stop, but then you called to me and now I bought something," right? Like that was the conversion. Me saying, "Hi, come talk to me." That made that conversion. So be aggressive about calling people over. And by aggressive, I don't mean like be mean to them, like, why won't you stop them? No, I just literally mean make sure you're trying to do it to every single person you can, especially if you make that eye contact. Once you've established eye contact, you have an in. Call them over, okay? Now, once you've called them over, I recommend selling your product. And I don't mean this in a really silly, like, well, the first step to making money is have a product to sell. No, I mean, talk up your product, okay? What's special about it? What is unique about the product or ingredients or anything like that? How did you come up with it? All of that kind of stuff. So I sell soaps and candles and stuff, lots of different stuff. So I like to talk about like what kind of ingredients are that in it, how does it smell, like what one is my favorite, even like what is something that I like. So all of that is giving the customer something to latch onto, something to respond to. So that is my number one tip. Talk up your products, and once you've talked it up and the customer has said, okay, well, how much is it? I want you all, especially for you shyer people, especially for you people who have maybe never sold online before. You're looking up tips for your very first market ever, okay? And you're like, I don't know what to do. Listen, say it with absolute confidence. Yes, it's $30. Yes, it's $400. Say it with absolute confidence because, yes, it is worth that much. That is how much money you put into it or how much effort you put into it. So, say your prices with absolute confidence, zero hesitation. The customer asks, how much is this? You're like, oh, yep, that's going to be $1,000. And you keep going, press right on. Like, shall I wrap that up for you? Or something along those lines, okay? Assume the sale. I don't know how many of you guys are maybe in customer service or not, especially selling based customer service. If you already are, some of these tips are familiar to you. If you're not, or if you've never been in that type of job, that's what Crafts Market are. They are very much retail customer service. So you're going to hear a lot of the same language. And the reason you're hearing it is because the big companies know what works. That's why they trained all of us to do it. And I was trained in a big retail service company. So why shouldn't we do it too? All the same tricks that work on a customer of a big brand is going to work for our little homemade brand. Okay. So have the same attitude. Now, that said, my next tip for you here is don't take everything personally, okay? And sometimes your product just isn't for that person. Oh my gosh, my glasses are so crooked. Okay, your product is not for that person, all right? Like, whatever it is, I sell soaps. I sell bar soaps. People, who the heck uses bar soaps anymore? Like, honestly, like, we're all out here in shower gel, right? So if somebody's just like, oh, well, I don't use bars of soap. Hey, well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for having a chat with me. Thanks for, my last craft market was a night market in the cold. It was literally last week. It was cold and it was windy. Okay. So I was just like, hey, thanks for coming on in and hiding from the wind with me. So that's it. Don't take everything personally. And you'll see that it really changes your attitude, and it really changes the customer perception as well. Like you're not giving off this very hungry for a sale vibe as well. Um, Now, my next point here is positive attitude. Okay. I know this is ooh witchy territory, but a positive attitude makes a really big difference. And I don't just mean in that ooh witchy manifest your vibe. No, no, no. Like yes, that too if you're into that. But I also mean having a positive outlook on every single interaction colors your own attitude, colors the way you're interacting with the world, okay? So if you're cold in a night market, it's windy, your tent is blowing away, you're actually kind of miserable a little bit. There are no bathrooms. I'm just outing myself here as like my last market. So you're afraid to even drink water even though you've got a raging headache. You're miserable, right? Right. But you got to find the silver lining, right? Like, oh, hey, it's actually kind of busy today. Hey, there's a vendor over there that I know, because all of this is true, that I know. Let's go chat. Let's go joke around. You know what I mean? So, like, all of that kind of stuff, finding that positive attitude, huge difference. Okay. So, if you look miserable, nobody wants to talk to you, and you'd be surprised, like I said, when you internalize all of that, you're projecting it. You have no idea how much you're projecting how miserable you are, I promise. Right, by the end of that market, it was really cold. By the end of that market, again, I was not taking my own advice. At the start of the market, I was open, I was bubbly, I was dancing around, I'm having a good time, and people are coming over. By the end of the market, I was freezing, so I was bundled up. I was literally standing around like this, okay, with like wrapped in a little blanket. I'm cold. I'm like, hi. Like, no one wanted to talk to me. The body language made a difference. I was cold, I was miserable, and now no one wants to talk to me. So it makes a difference, okay? And last but not least, um, for those positive vibes, I know that obviously there are markets where they're not gonna go your way, man. And you know it. You know that vibe. Some of you, like whoever's clicking onto this video, if you've been to one market before, uh, you might know. You pulled up into the driveway and you went, I hope I can make my table fee back. I hope I can make my gas money back, right? So you're like, this is not the location. They didn't advertise right. So many different factors. You know when a market is not going to go the way you want it to. But, okay, connect with other vendors. That is that positive attitude that I'm talking about. When you're having a good hee hee ha ha with your next door neighbor, or you go to find somebody that you connect with and you make friends, first of all, it makes those really slow and dead markets go by. You know what I mean? You have a good time. My very first market of the year, not this year, but in 2023 was, oh son, when I tell you there was nobody there, and it was just whatever sales were made were vendors buying from other vendors out of pity. Okay, like it was that bad. All right, so it was really not good, but I spent the entire time, I made friends, and I was just joking around and having a grand time because I was connecting with other vendors. Now, that said, that connection with other vendors, you're getting their social medias, you're finding out where they're going, you're finding out, you get little ins in the community. So connect with other vendors. It makes a big, big difference. So even if you're not making the money that you thought you would make at your market, there are still positive outcomes. There are still benefits to being at that market. I know obviously we would all prefer to make some money. I get it. But, those things are benefits in and of themselves. So if anybody's interested, I can talk about my market table setup. I don't know when exactly I can do that because all of my market table stuff is at my local farmers market, but maybe I can show pictures or something. So I can talk about that and other little tips and things I've learned, maybe a video of like things I wish I'd done differently, stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for joining me here. I hope some of these tips were helpful. I know they sounded basic, but I'm telling you, like, keep them in mind. Every time you think like, oh, this market's going terrible, I want you to put a smile on your face. Try to find the silver lining because I promise it will, whatever people are there, especially if it's a traffic issue, will be encouraged to come over to you. Okay? So, you guys Good luck out there. Get the bag, make your moolah, whatever it is that the kids say these days. Jeji out.